All right, welcome to our team call for February 19th. I'm going to skip going over any updates and announcements other than the fact that it is still Team Cup month. There is still plenty of time to rock your goals with your teams, earn those fun prizes, earn the fun prizes in the Difference Maker movement also. And we're also doing a prize for the Team Cup winners within our team. So free pumpkin spice is still being added to challenge packs. As we know, it hasn't run out yet, but I keep sending out reminders to people to hop on board with that if they want to snag it before it's gone, because we really don't have any idea when that's going to run out, so they might as well
I know. I hate that. I sent it out today. I told someone to cancel their bot and get the challenge pack because they're going to get pumpkin spice Shaco with it. And I'm like, oh my God, do it like right now. So it's not like all of a sudden not available.
You're like, oops.
I know. I should say like it's still available as of this very minute, but otherwise it's still a good deal. But yeah,
I know. And if you have promo codes, if you used any promo codes by the 13th of February, then you should get an email with a refill of the exact amount of promo codes. So if you use 2 of them, then you should have gotten an email on the 14th with 2 more. If you use 3, you got 3. If you use 1, you got 1. But make sure that you are using those 2. Does anybody have anything they want to shout out this week? Annalisa, I didn't see mine come in my inbox, but I searched promo code in the bar and then they popped up and I found it. I don't know. Somehow I think they just get lost in the mix of crazy, but I did get mine. I'm going to shout out Ray, even though she's like, what are you calling me out for? Ray is working her butt off and she is getting so close to Jaimin right now. She is really rallying in her business. She is so consistent with her stories, just with her postpartum fitness journey, being consistent with being a light and just showing up. And it's so cool to see her just like stepping into that level of leadership and stepping into just really owning her business and bringing it to new heights and really working towards way bigger goals this year. So I'm super excited that probably in the next, I want to say by the end of the month, but that we'll be getting to shout her out for a huge accomplishment. But I just want to send some love to cheer her on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have anything that they want to shout out this week? Anything?
I will shout out new coach Kelby. She's not on right now. I know it's her baby bedtime, but she is a brand new coach and she just shared her first, her second actually. She was saying, it was only Beachbody On Demand annual, but we celebrate all the things in here. So as a new coach, just paying it forward, that's huge.
Awesome. Yes, we like new go-getter action takers. Cool to see. Well, thanks everybody who hopped on tonight. Hopefully we'll have some more people trickling in as time goes on. But just have really been trying to think of more guest speakers to bring on to team calls that have some really actionable, awesome things to share with our team, because I know you guys get sick of hearing from us. But Jenaleigh, I always see her pop up in my newsfeed. And Jenaleigh and I don't feel like we ever really got to spend too much time together until we were all at Liz's retreat in Wisconsin back a couple months ago. But the thing that I notice is one of the things when I'm scrolling social media, and sometimes there's that one coach that you always scroll by and you're like, damn, they always have awesome photos and really great captions, and their words and emotions really draw you into what they're saying. And it's really apparent to see that she's really niched down into who she's talking to and the women she's looking to help. And you connect to the emotions of what she's been through and who she's looking for. And I think that's such a valuable skill to have as coaches, because it can feel confusing of what do I share and how do I speak to the woman I want to reach, and how am I going to hit her in the feelings where she connects to see herself in my story. And I think Jenna does such an awesome job at that. So she is going to be sharing about that tonight and just kind of niching down how to speak, how to create content that really speaks to your network and the people that you're looking to reach. And Jenna, if you want to take a moment before you get started, just introduce yourself a little bit. I know you're a wife and a dog mom and you're retired now, so you're a full-time coach and a 3-star, gosh, I can't even talk tonight, 3-star diamond lifetime. But if you want to share a little bit of like what coaching looked like for you kind of when you started, because we all don't start out full time necessarily, and like how that transition happened for you and just kind of where you're at now and why this has been such an important part of your business.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm super excited to be on your call. I've looked up to Dana and Annalisa for years now. So today is actually my 6-year coaching anniversary, and I guess sign up anniversary with Beachbody. So it's kind of ironic that I'm leading the call tonight, because 6 years ago, I would have never been doing something like this. So it's kind of nice to be able to look back on where I was and the journey that I've come on since then. So 6 years ago, I was working full-time in an advertising agency, mostly in the account management side. But I got into that job right out of college. And after my dad had passed away from cancer, I gained 25 pounds, and I just started rethinking my entire path with my life. And Beachbody just fell into my news feed like it does for all of us. And I was like, wow, this can definitely help me get healthier. And then I started to learn about the coaching opportunity through what Liz Hartkey, who's my coach, was sharing about. And it just hooked me, and it just seemed like it was the perfect thing that I needed in my life. And, the person who I am today is completely different physically, but mentally from who I was 6 years ago as well. So, and my messaging on social media has definitely shifted since then too. So I'm not an expert in what I'm going to share tonight on social media, but I have kind of, been through the trenches. I've had the hard times. I've had to really think about what's working, what's not working in my business, and adapt throughout the years and kind of evolve as I've evolved, and social media has evolved too. So that's kind of in a nutshell who I am and how I got started. So I guess I will just jump into the presentation now. So let me share my screen with you guys. And I created a presentation just so I can keep my thoughts together for you guys. So as Dana mentioned, we're going to be talking tonight about how to share and connect with your niche on Instagram. So I want to start this call off by first asking you guys some questions, because I feel like we're all guilty of saying this at certain points in our journey. So have you ever been someone to say, no one wants to buy from me, I don't know what to post, and nothing makes me different, I don't really have a niche? I know that that was something that really held me back in the beginning of my journey. And it was that mindset that was keeping me stuck. It wasn't until I had that light bulb moment where I was like, you know what? Other people are figuring this out. I can figure it out. How can I be resourceful to look at what I'm putting out there on my social media and see if there's something that I can tweak in what I'm sharing and what I'm putting out there to better resonate with the person that I'm trying to connect with? Because it's great that people think I'm inspiring, but I want to take them to that next level with me. So my goals for this call with you guys are to help you really identify what makes you unique. And I'm going to go through some exercises, and I will give this presentation to Dana and Annalisa after the call, so you guys can kind of go back and reflect and take some time to kind of journal out the different exercises for yourself. I also want to help you learn how to share in a way that connects with your ideal person on Instagram, and then how you can go out there and actually find that person. So the first step is going back to figuring out who you are. And you really can't skip this step. I know I tried to skip over this step a bunch of times because I thought I had figured it out, but you really need to take that time to brainstorm who you are before you can effectively share on Instagram and connect with your ideal person. So these are the 3 steps I'm going to walk you through to help you, go through this first step. But I've found with Instagram especially, and I just think social media in general nowadays, that they're platforms where you need to connect to be able to make a difference. We can't just be going out there and, pushing product or constantly asking people for the sale, we really have to get vulnerable and share who we are, because I was finding for me, a lot of people were like, "You're so inspiring. I love following you. You're so inspiring." And I'm like, "That's awesome. That's awesome." But all I was doing was posting about health and fitness. And of course, people think that's inspiring, but I wasn't building a deeper connection than that with my people. And that's why there was that disconnect there. And I wasn't converting people who are following me on Instagram to actually be like paid clients. So the first thing that I did in trying to figure out like what I was doing wrong was, first I made a list of all the different attributes of who I was. So list out everything that defines you and be super specific. So things you can think about in this category would be your life stage, your marital status, your job, personality traits, pet peeves, this is the big one, where you live, fitness and nutrition struggles and pain points, your career struggles and pain points, hobbies, and life experiences. So those are just some ideas to kind of get the juices flowing and get you on the right track in terms of brainstorming. And I'm going to give you guys an example of like how this would play out for a specific person. The next step would be categorizing that brain dump list of ideas into 5 main categories. So you're going to take that list and you're going to start to pull out the common themes that you're seeing, so that you can start to identify like, what is your brand made up of? Like, what are the different components that your brand is made up of? And then from there, you're going to figure out your unique spin. So what do you want to be known as, and what do you want to be known for in regards to those categories that you create? And how can you add value? And how can you connect within that? So here you want to think about what brings you joy. And then if you can identify any areas within those categories where you can kind of be a teacher or an expert. So I'm going to give you guys some examples of that, because I'm like super tangible. So hopefully these examples help you guys. So for this example, I thought of a mom, because I'm confident most of your team is made up of moms. I'm not one myself, but I just tried to get in that mindset for this call. So hopefully it was more helpful for you guys. So the first category of making a list, here's an example of kind of some of the things you can put in there as a mom in this example. So mom of 2 girls, 35 years old, married 10 years, stay-at-home mom, organized, can't function without order, kids are picky eaters, you absolutely love, love, love cooking. That's like such a passion. Your husband works a lot of hours, so you juggle a lot. You're challenged with having the energy to put your health first. You feel guilty for being home all day and still struggling to keep things together. You feel like you've lost your sense of self. Everything you do is for others. You barely get adult interaction. Maybe you struggled with infertility and you love making your home more efficient and orderly, and your go-to place for organization hacks are places like IKEA. So that's just an example of how you can get kind of specific with all the little pieces of who you may be. And so from this example list, some of the key things that I pulled out as being kind of the main categories would be family, organization hacks, time management, cooking, and stay-at-home mom. So every main category that you create based on your brain dump list there should be nothing in your main categories that you don't like talking about. So all of these categories should be something that bring you joy or that is natural for you to talk about. So for example, for me, I hate cooking, and the least amount of time in the kitchen is better for me. So when you go to my Instagram, you're not going to see a ton of nutrition pics, and people wouldn't come to my page for that. So that's how I'm kind of being a little bit more specific to my niche in that sense. And then taking these categories and turning them into like, okay, how can I take these general categories, which I'm sure a lot of people have in common with me, and how can I make them unique given this example from our first list? So within the family category, some ideas could be talking about your marriage and infertility and life with a husband who works a lot, life of a girl mom, life in your mid 30s, and or like sharing the style of family that you are. Like maybe you have a TGI Friday night where you guys all eat popcorn and watch movies. But it's just like the little things like that make you human and allow other people to connect with you on like that human level. Within the organization hacks category in this example, so giving home organization tips, sharing how you decorate for an organized home, sharing how you stay organized as a mom, or how you stay organized in, even though it's hard for you to have the energy to kind of put your health front and center, like how are you still showing up for yourself? Time management, how do you manage your time with a lot on your plate? So that's everything from kids and coaching and doing your workouts and cooking. So this in the example was a huge passion for this person, right? So I could see this person having an Instagram page that is like filled with all things nutrition, whether it's recipes or meal tips and strategies for how to get their picky kids on eating something healthy. What do you eat? You know, sharing your different meal plans and then sharing how you stay organized in the kitchen. And then in the stay-at-home mom category, maybe sharing something about how a side hustle is adding purpose and fulfillment to her life with healthy adult interaction. And then also the pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mom and getting super real, like not just keeping it surface level, but like getting real. And I'll give you guys some more examples in the next slides. But after you kind of go through that brainstorming list, you do the categories and you kind of list out the different bullets within those categories. So I'll just like show up my list. I actually typed this out. So I encourage you guys to just like take that time to just brainstorm and go to a coffee shop without distraction so that you can keep this printed. And like if you're struggling for content ideas, you can always just, you know, pull back this list and get some inspiration. But from that, I always like just, you know, defining myself in a couple of paragraphs, because again, this sometimes looking at, you know, a stapled list that's like 10 pages long can be a little bit overwhelming. So just having yourself defined in a couple of paragraphs is helpful to kind of just remind yourself in the moment, like, okay, who am I? And am I really speaking to my ideal person on Instagram? So in this example, this person could be defined as a busy girl mom navigating life in your mid-30s that juggles a lot. Feel guilty that you feel overwhelmed by all the house chores and being a mom because your husband works hard all day to provide, and you feel like you should be grateful for being a stay-at-home mom. When the kids are at school, you feel like you don't have a purpose. It can be lonely and isolating at times, but coaching has given you a positive community and a purpose and a way to earn an income so you can have some self-care without it as much guilt. The only way you function is with order. Everything has its place and your family knows this. You've implemented systems in the house to keep things in order. You expect your kids to do their chores and keep a clean room. You are efficient when you're organized, and some would define you as type A. And you don't get moms who are hot mess expresses. Clearly, cooking is a passion of yours. You love making home cooked dinners for your family every night, even though your kids are picky eaters. So obviously I'm giving you guys kind of like extreme examples here, but you can clearly pick out like what this person's pain points are, what makes them unique, so that they can get really clear on the type of person that they're probably wanting to attract back into their Instagram, which then will attract into their challenge group, and then hopefully, you know, coaches. So that's step one, is taking that time to really, really dive into who you are. And like, you really can't skip that step in order to make the rest of what I share effective, and to be able to bring that to your social media. So step two would be how to actually connect with those people. So you know who you are, but like, how do you connect with the people who are going to get that? So my biggest tip would be not being afraid to turn someone off. So the goal is not to connect with any and everyone on Instagram. And when we have that scarcity mindset and fear we will maybe lose some people in speaking to our exact niche, that right there, that's what's making your page ineffective. No one is really connecting with you because you're being too broad. And like, your person isn't going to read your post and be like, wow, she's speaking to me. So in this example that I gave earlier, clearly that mom needs to speak to the type A mom, sharing her pet peeves about, you know, hot mess expresses or whatever, like not in a rude way, but like obviously someone who's more a hot mess express, not really like a planner, they're probably just not going to jive because they just have different, like way different personalities, you know? So that's tip number one on how to connect. Tip number two, it's important that you get really vulnerable. So people are going to connect when they feel and can relate to something you shared. If you can create that emotional response from your reader, you've hooked them and you've connected at that point. You've made a deep impression. So it's really important that you start to peel back the layers of who you are and share the hard stuff. So the good, the bad, like life isn't always perfect, and people like to see that you're working through a hard time, or like life isn't just rainbows and butterflies because we're coaches, right? Like it's hard. So in this example, this mom can share like super vulnerably about what being a stay-at-home mom is really like, the good and the bad. So if the kids are driving her insane, I would suggest sharing those details. If she feels like no one's appreciating her, share that, because other stay-at-home moms are gonna connect to that feeling. And then, you know, if you feel like you've lost your sense of self, like in this example, that's so important to share. If you love earning a side income so you can go and get your nails done without guilt, share that, because there's another mom out there who's like, I can't even get my hair done because I feel guilty spending anything on myself. And then tip three on how to connect. Talk about the things that you enjoy and that bring fun and joy into your life. For a long time, I was just sharing the things I thought I was supposed to share as a coach on social media, like recipes, and it just was not me and did not bring me joy to have to figure out like a new recipe to share every week when I'm someone who's like repeat, rinse and repeat, and I keep it super bland and boring. So I don't share a lot about that, like I mentioned earlier, but you will connect with others who enjoy and value the similar things that you do. And then at that point, it's easier to make a connection with some common ground outside of health and wellness too. So you're not just now being inspiring, but you're also connecting on a deeper level. So that builds trust, and that starts to encourage people to bring their walls down. So when we do eventually transition to the invite, they're more receptive to it. So, and another example would be like, if you hate working out, obviously that's a big part of what we do. We still have to work out, right? But maybe maybe you're not, you know, posting on your Instagram page like every 3 videos samples of your workout, you know? If you love cooking, share more recipes. So bring more of what brings you joy to your page, and you're going to connect with people who really, really do value that as well. And then that also helps position you as more of an expert in the things that you enjoy and bring, and that bring joy back to you too. So like, for example, last year I got super into Dave Ramsey and like paying off our mortgage. So that's like a huge goal of mine this year. And I literally spent the whole month mapping out our finances and how we're going to make some big things happen. So I'm bringing that into my brand because I know other people my age and in my life stage struggle with similar things as me. And from what I learn, I'm not an expert, but I can then teach what I'm learning with my audience, and that's adding value. So you don't have to be like a professional or an actual expert in the things that bring you joy, but you know, having worked towards like getting more knowledge on that subject, that does make you an expert to someone who has no idea where to start. All right, so we've kind of identified who you are and how you can connect on a deeper level with your ideal niche on Instagram. And now I'm going to encourage you guys to, and do it in this order. I'm going to encourage you guys to take a look at your current Instagram and kind of do an audit and ask yourself, is your content all over the place? Are you providing value, or are you just asking for people to buy? Like, is every post, you know, link in bio, DM me to join? Are you speaking to your ideal person, or is it kind of just like speaking to everyone? And then are you talking too much about one category or a couple categories versus like that well-rounded that well-rounded brand that we're trying to help you create. I know for me, like the harder things to talk about sometimes are coaching. So when I was doing my Instagram audit, I was like, wow, I talk a lot about my boot camps and asking people to join, but I'm never talking about the coaching at all. And I'm never talking about like my life. And that I realized was a huge disconnect for people. So it's so important to just be real with yourself and be okay. Like if this is you and you're like, yes, this is me for every little question that I just asked, it's okay. But now and now you can kind of course correct. So reflect is step one. Step two, and this is huge. I don't know if you guys know, but on Instagram, there's actually a little insights section. And I think this may only be true if you have a business profile. But if you go to your Instagram, and this is kind of my homepage, in the top right corner, there's 3 bars. So if you click that and you click insights, you can look, the first thing that pops up is your content. And so if you click on see all posts, you can actually see your all your posts. So right now mine's popping up as a year, but I would suggest looking back on like the last 3 months of posts, and you can look at reach, you can look at, how much engagement you got on those posts, how many likes, how many saves. And I just stick with reach for this exercise, but go through and start to make a list of like, what were your top performing posts? Is there a common theme that you're noticing? So do you have maybe like in your top 10, are there a lot of side-by-side transformation pictures? Are there pictures of your family? Like if you have kids, and you're sharing pictures with you and your kids, are those kind of more popular posts? I know for me, transformations are popular, pictures of my dog are popular. Me and Mike, my husband, from our wedding or our honeymoon, those like are super attention grabbing pictures. So I'm like, all right, well, if those are getting higher reach, then I want to make sure I'm incorporating that into my page more if that aligns with the brand I'm trying to create. And if my top performing, well, let me skip to the next section before I kind of confuse you guys. So we are going to analyze the data. Okay, so identify any trends in your top performing posts, subjects, style of pictures. Was it an invite post? Was it kind of just a general getting to know you post? And then you're going to start to identify trends. And from there, you can do the course correcting. And I want you to think about at the beginning of the call, kind of some of those questions of no one connecting or buying from you. And ask yourself, do your list of top posts from this audit, from your Instagram Insight audit, do they align with those 5 categories that we just kind of identified at the beginning of the call? And of course, they're going to be different for you and based on what makes you you. But if the content from your Instagram audit is not matching up with the categories that we just identified, then content is most likely the problem why you're not connecting with the right people. So shifting your focus and speaking more consistently on those 5 main things that really make your brand who you are and who you're trying to connect with people based on. So in this example before, the stay-at-home mom life, the organization, the time hacks, family, marriage, cooking, all those things, right? If she's not consistently sharing about those 5 things, then that's something that she wants to kind of shift so that becomes more front and center. So she's connecting with the right people. And then if, for example, you go through this audit and you're like, my top performing posts are actually matching the categories that I identified at the beginning of the call, then to me, that says that your audience is most likely the problem. So in that case, I'm going to help you work towards being more proactive in bringing in the right people to your Instagram page who will actually resonate with those topics. So I don't know if anyone else is guilty of this in using third-party tools to kind of gain followers. I know I did that last year, and then I was like, okay, this is not good. I shouldn't be doing this. And I really had to take a lot of time to go through my page and kind of like get rid of fake accounts who may be following me and that has been why it's taken me a while to kind of build back up. So if you've been someone who used tools like that in the past, then chances are maybe you're not connecting with people just because you don't have the right audience on your page. I hope that makes sense. So the next step here is course correcting. So we're going to talk about how to course correct with content and then your audience. So I realized on my page I needed to make a big shift. I was sharing a lot about some things and not enough about the others. So at first, what I did was I basically took every day of the week, so Monday through Sunday, and I said, based on my 5 main topics that I want to cover and talk about, here's what I'm going to share on Monday. Here's what I'm going to share on Tuesday. And I kind of created topic categories for each day of the week. And I kept it kind of broad so that I wasn't like tied into something super specific, but I knew, like, for example, on Monday, maybe I'm going to share something about staying at home and working with my dog and how I love that freedom and flexibility. Maybe Tuesday, it's a transformation or a testimonial from one of my clients. So I kind of just had like categories of content for what I wanted to share each day of the week. And that helped me be consistent in sharing what I wanted to share in all aspects of who I was versus just like the things that were super easy to share about. So if you're new or if you just want to start off somewhere simple, I suggest doing something like this. And then whether you want to write out your posts in advance, you can do that. Or if you're someone who gets inspiration more so on the fly, at least you have an idea of the style of content that you want to talk about in that day. So it gives you a little bit more of like a guideline. Now, because I kind of wanted to make things a little bit more advanced, I'm actually using the Make Chic Happen social media planner. And Melanie Mitro actually created it with Katie Ersta. And I'm really loving it because it forces me to take a look at my month as a whole and figure out, like, what do I want to promote each week of the month? And then within each week, there's a little section where you can plan out your content for that week. So whether it's just kind of having certain content categories for each day of the week, or maybe if you're focusing on inviting to a boot camp, then you're talking about, like, you're writing down in your planner, like, how can I speak to my audience? Like, what pain points can I talk about that's going to relate to my person that I can share about this week to kind of hook them and grab their interest? Not every post is going to be an invite post, but at least I'm thinking through, like, how can I breadcrumb those pain points and connect with my audience so that when I do a couple hard invites this particular week, it's going to connect and it's going to resonate. So if you're a little bit more advanced in the business, then I would suggest checking out the Make Chic Happen planner, because I really, really love it. And it also forces you to check out your insights at the end of every week. So you reflect on, like, what's your most important post. And it's just a good reminder to, like, actually go in there and do that consistently. And then if you're someone who really needs to course correct in the sense of finding your ideal audience, and I think, like, this is beneficial even if, you know, you feel like you have a good audience on your page, I think these tips will still help. But the biggest thing here is, like, we really have to be proactive in going out there and finding our ideal people. So don't leave it up to hope and chance that you will connect with them and they'll just magically come to your page, because that doesn't always happen. And as a business owner, I'd rather, like, control the controllable. I can control going out there and finding people who look like they're someone I can connect with, you know? So on this step, in terms of finding your ideal person, I want you to think of people, places, and things. So who would your ideal person be following on Instagram? And if I'm giving you a hint, the celebrity or public figure would probably be in a similar life stage as your person. Where are they checking in? Either with their family or their kids, or on date night, or maybe for self-care days for them. Where do they shop? And a good question to ask yourself is if you're looking to connect with local women, or if you love building the idea of building a team all over. Because if you're just looking to kind of connect with local people, then you know where to focus. Like, search, you know where to go and find like the different places where your person would be, versus if you have to kind of expand to other states, maybe if you're looking at events for like where to find places where moms will go with their kids, maybe there's fairs that are going on in other states. So you can kind of just like get more creative based on where you're looking to connect with those people, whether they're local or a little bit more spread out. And then what would your ideal person be searching on hashtags, or what types of hashtags would your ideal person be using? So look around your house, kind of take notes of what brands you have, what brands of clothes you wear, your kids wear, what brands of toys and clothing. And in this example that I gave earlier, would your ideal person be searching organization hacks on Instagram? So just like using everything that you brainstormed earlier to define who you are, to then get inspiration for finding your ideal person, because in pretty much 99% of cases, it's going to be a mirror image of who you are. So, and then once you do find these people, it's important that you're engaging and interacting with them. So for me, I actually schedule in now networking time each week. So I will dedicate like an hour a few times a week to just find my person and connect with them. So the more social you are, the more love you will get back in return. And when you're interacting in a meaningful way and asking questions and giving honest compliments, then that's going to resonate so much more with that person. And the great thing about, our business is if you don't jive with someone, you can just unfollow or end the conversation. And the goal of this is to find like your future best friend. So if you wouldn't hang out with these people in real life, it's okay to just move on and go out there and find that person who is your vibe. So I'm going to run through some final Instagram tips, and then I'll open it up for questions if you guys have some at the end. So for me, I try to do one Instagram TV a week so that I can add value and educate on a topic my ideal person would find interesting. And I know it's scary to do at first. And even for me, like doing a team call, I still get super nervous about doing calls, which is so funny. But the more you put yourself out there, people like connect and know you're a real human. You're not, perfect. You're not perfect, and that's relatable. And then they build trust by hearing your voice and like seeing you talk. So that's something I'm really trying to do more of. I always use a filter to give my page a more cohesive look. So I purchased a filter on Etsy and use Lightroom to apply. I also tried to be a little bit unfiltered and less perfect in my Instagram stories. So like my main page is all filtered, right? We want to have that cute look. But my stories, I'm just being my weird, quirky self who like half makes sense sometimes. And I really just try to let my personality come through there, because every day I'm learning to just be myself and know that who I am and all my weirdness is good enough for my ideal person. And that's really all I care about. Another big tip is always ask yourself, am I speaking to my ideal person? Like before you make a post or do an Instagram TV or something, ask yourself if you're adding value for them. Are you speaking directly to a pain point that they may have? And are you helping them see that you can help them work through that? Give. Make connections and don't expect a sale. So for me, I was just like trying to make friends to make a sale, really. And that was at my core, and that people could sense that. So you really have to let go of thinking about the sale and just trust that that's going to come. Like your person will reach out to you if you're staying focused on putting the right messaging out there consistently and not like fearing and letting your goals kind of come before being authentic in your messaging, if that makes sense. Use polls in your stories to connect with your person. This has been super helpful for me. So asking if they can relate to something that may have happened in your day or a certain personality quirk, Or for me, I'm always asking my people, like, do your husbands do this? Are your husbands picky eaters? Because mine is. Ask for opinions. And then from there, you can build connections with people who seem like your ideal person. So everyone who votes on my polls, I will DM them and start a conversation with them. Interact with others in the way you wish others would interact with you. Instagram growth is a two-way street. I remember asking my cousin who's, in college, I'm like, how do you have 500 likes on every single picture? She's like, honestly, you just need to go out there and give other people love and you're going to get that in return. And it's so true. And then your page should be branded like we talked about in the categories you've identified in that first exercise. And then within those categories, I think someone's, let me see if I can mute. I don't know if I can mute you. So within those categories, even like, for example, if I'm talking about my dog, like there's still ways where I can breadcrumb health and wellness or coaching. And it's just important that when you are putting, stuff out there about what we do, that you're doing it in a way that adds value to your ideal market. And then my final tip is remember the people you speak to in your posts and that you are proactively finding will eventually be your challengers and coaches. So don't settle, because if you connect with the right people, coaching will be so much more enjoyable. You won't be dragging people and they will literally become your best friends. I mean, imagine the example I gave you earlier of imagine that person trying to coach someone who's like a complete hot mess and disorganized. They're just like wouldn't jive. Their styles are so different that it would be really hard for them to see eye to eye and kind of connect. And if that was a challenger, the chances of them transitioning to coaching with that person probably is unlikely. So remember that who you're connecting with on Instagram, that really is kind of a domino effect into who you're bringing in as challengers and coaches in the future. So I hope that was helpful. That's everything I have. Do you guys have questions on anything I shared? I didn't look at the chat.
I love that last part so much because it's so true about like if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. And that's so true when you end up with like challengers or coaches that you don't vibe with and you're like, this was super, super helpful. And I think it's you simplified it. Like I've done a lot of branding exercises and stuff, and sometimes I end up feeling more confused than I do like, okay, now I know exactly what to share. Cause I'm like, holy shit. Like I have done an exercise before and wrote like lists and lists of things. And then I don't do anything with it. So this was like super helpful, super actionable. And it like makes me feel like I'll feel way more like confident in what I'm putting out there and making sure that I'm covering all the bases. And I love your prompts of the questions in the beginning. I don't know, I'm like trying to go back to my notes, but like of who you're trying to impact and like what difference you want to make in their life. I think all of that stuff is really cool to think about, not just like what actually makes you you, but like how you want to serve people with that. So awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And the big thing for me was like, I am not Beachbody. Like Beachbody is a part of who I am, but sometimes I feel like we get so stuck in that mold of like, oh, we're supposed to work out, we're supposed to share recipes and all these things. And yeah, like that's important to share about, but that's not really what's going to make people connect with you in a deeper way, in the way that we all are craving. So I'm glad that this was helpful.
So true.
Does anyone have any other questions on something I share or something maybe that wasn't clear? I know I talked kind of fast.
I think you slayed it.
Thank you.
I honestly think you could make worksheets, like a worksheet like of this actual content that would be super helpful for coaches, because like
That is a good idea.
Everybody needs this.
Where are you getting, I know you're doing your IGTV, like speaking to your market, but where are you like coming up with what you're saying in your IGTV? Is that a dumb question? Like I feel like I'm like, yeah, I could do IGTV, but I'm like, where am I she's coming up with that.
Yeah, so I think for me, a lot of times I think of my pain points or like something that I'm learning, that I'm enjoying learning, that I then want to share to my audience because I know someone like me would want to learn about it too. So, like, for example, a big part of my brand this year is paying off debt. So when I did that, the list out of exercises, I was noticing like that brings me joy to share about that. That's something that's a big part of my everyday life. So just literally the things that I learn from my sources, I'm going to go out there and do a short Instagram TV on. Or because I'm a dog mom, I had a really awesome Instagram TV of how we file our dog's nails, which he uses a scratch board. So I showed people how to make that. Or I'm experimenting with being vegan. So just learning little things about that is going to help my ideal person. So I think once you go through and really do that brain dump, you can think of what am I learning and I like talking about, and then what are my pain points and how can I educate people on that. A big thing for me is like people saying they don't have the money, but then they're going and spending like thousands of dollars going to a bar studio for the year. So I'm doing an Instagram TV this week on here's what it costs to join my virtual gym, and here's what local people to me are actually paying going to a bar studio. So I'm just like sharing the facts, and then my person, if they're really my person, is going to be like, that's crazy, why am I spending this money when I could be getting awesome results spending less? So hopefully that helps.
This was fantastic. Does
I'm
anybody
so
else have any
glad.
questions? And you probably feel so much more confident on social media too. Like instead of that constant overthinking of like, did I share the right thing? Did I share enough of that? Am I not sharing enough of this? I think it eliminates a lot of that, like the stress that can come with social media.
Yeah, and a big thing for me is I do well when I have a plan. I know not everyone is like that. So for me, like I get very specific with what I'm going to share throughout the week now. But even just at first when I was just doing broad topics of like I'm going to share about nutrition or I don't know, stay-at-home dog mom life this day, I just had a better idea of like what to start thinking about to post, because otherwise I would sit there and be like, I have no idea what I'm going to post about today. I should make something up. And then I was just sharing the easy stuff consistently versus the hard stuff, which is what
Yeah.
we need to share to connect.
So true. As for photos, like since you like to keep it all cohesive looking, do you take photos ahead of time and keep them in an album, like when your husband's around or when your hair is done or whatever, or do you kind of do a mix of like on the fly and like pre-taken photos? I'm
I
always
definitely do a mix. I reuse and repeat photos too sometimes. My husband hates taking my picture, which is so funny. So I get him when he's on his good days, and then I take a lot of them myself. Um, but I will reuse. And that's another thing too, when you're going through your Instagram insight audit, if you have a really great post and the picture, like you can reuse that picture too. Maybe it was the picture who really performed well for you in that post. So yeah, no one's going to remember if you repost the same picture unless you did it like the previous week. So I do that a lot.
so true. Awesome. I love it. This was super helpful. Thank you so very much.
You are so welcome, guys. It was an honor. Wow, you guys
Alrighty.
are so sweet. Thanks.
I guess we're gonna call it a night. This might officially be the first time we've ended a team call before 9:30 in like 6 months.
Wow. I talk fast.
For delivering such great information in such a quick format.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for taking time out of your night, and thanks for making that beautiful, thing to go over, because that is so not. I'm not a type A like you. I am a hot mess mom. But I
So
love
share that.
really appreciate
I love it. Well,
and we'll see everybody next week.
bye guys.
Good night, everyone.